Hey, Life Group leaders, this is Jace Brown. Pastor Jason asked me to do the video this week, which I'm always excited to do. So we're going to be looking at the end of chapter 13 of the Gospel of John, going into chapter 14. My main idea for this week, I really want to focus on Jesus as like a trailblazer, kind of like a Hebrews chapter 12 idea, that he is the forerunner for us, and it is inaugurating a new way of life. And that way of life is characterized by love, humility, and hope. So Jesus is the trailblazer of a new way of life characterized by love, humility, and hope. So looking at this passage, starting in verse 31 through 33, there is this discussion about this mutual glorification between the Son and the Father. And this mutual glorification, the glory that is supposed to be bestowed on the Son, the path to it only happens through sacrificial obedience. Right. So the only way Jesus is going to that glory that he's describing is through the path of the cross. And so it's interesting here, though, that they're mutually glorifying one another. Yet it's not as if God needs more glory. Right? He doesn't get more glory than he already has. He is supremely glorious already. And so at the end of the day, this is not even necessarily for his benefit, but it ends up being for our benefit that they glorify one another. And the reality of the situation is this is what a glorious and just yet merciful God would do anyway. That's what he would do. And so in doing so, he is inaugurating this way of life, this new path that he's going to invite us into in this passage. And so some of the things I want to do is I want to talk about the difference between the way of life that Jesus offers and that the world offers. And I want to compare and contrast those with my students so they can get a clear picture of what living a life as a disciple is, but also just express the sweetness of the hope and joy and peace found in being a disciple of Jesus versus trying to live the rat race that the world has to offer us. So we're going to do this in a couple of different ways. We're going to look at love, humility, and hope. The first is in verses 36 through 34 and 35. 34 and 35, Jesus gives us a new commandment. And that commandment is to love the way that he has loved us. And so we want to spend some time looking at, well, how has Jesus loved us? What is his love like? And then we'll look at that versus the love of the world. What sorts of love is offered in the world? So I kind of characterize Jesus' love in three categories. This isn't necessarily exhaustive or perfect, but I think it really spells out the nature of Jesus' love. So first I said it's personal, meaning it's substitutionary. So Jesus offers himself as a substitute, or he takes on the burdens of others. It's very personal in nature. And then I said that his love is extensive. It's self-sacrificial, meaning that Jesus spares no expense when it comes to sacrificing himself. And then finally, I said that his love is unreserved or unconditional. That means that he breaks down social convention and categories and all sorts of barriers and walls in order to show love. So then I may ask my students, what is your experience of love in the world, right? Is it same or different? What is the difference? And then I may even ask, have you experienced the kind of love that Jesus is talking about? Have you experienced it among the church, among the people of God? And this would be a good time to just pause and hear testimony of what the Lord has done or is doing or will do among his people. And so looking at love, then we'll go on to Peter next in verses 36 and 38 through 38. And of course, Peter is very eager to follow Jesus. Jesus is saying, hey, I'm leaving and you can't come. And Peter says, but I want to go, Lord. I would even lay down my life for you. So Peter here is very eager, but the problem is that his eagerness is outpacing his commitment, right? Peter's pride is really getting the better of him. I may say to the students, I know I've made lots of lofty promises to God in the past and probably broke them almost immediately, right? Sometimes we treat our promises to God almost like a New Year's resolution. We forget it pretty quick after we've made it. And so Jesus rebukes Peter but the rebuke is very, it's not meant to put him in his place. It's very pastoral, and it's very loving. It's meant to give Peter a dose of humility, right, to help him understand that what Peter really needs is to rely on God and is to live according to his plan. And so I may ask my students about humility versus pride they've seen in the world, right? The world loves to operate off of pride and egoism. And so Peter is asked by Jesus to just hold your horses, don't get so roughshod, and just follow me. Just follow me. So then next we go to chapter 14, verse 1 through 6. We want to talk about hope. So on the heels of Jesus saying he's leaving, that's going to cause some anxiety in the disciples. Oh no, you're leaving. What does that mean for us? We can't go. What's going on? So he's going to start by calming them, calming their fears, and say, let your hearts not be troubled. Right? Believe in God, believe also in me. And then he makes them 3 promises. And those promises, he says that he's going ahead of them and that he is preparing a place for them and that he's coming again to receive them. And so all 3 of these are meant to be a source of hope for the disciples, so that when they have doubts about the future, they can remember these promises and they can live life based on them. So the promise that Jesus is going ahead of us means that he is blazing the trail. He knows where to go, and so he is a good guide. He can guide us through life and help us understand things even when we don't understand what's going on. He does. And we can have hope and trust and faith in him that he's going to guide us. Also, that he's preparing a place. That means that at the end of this line, it's not more toil. It's not more sacrifice. It's actually a place of rest. It's a place of rest and peace. And then finally, he's coming again to receive us, which means it's not lasting forever. That at some point this will be over. That we will finally have peace and rest with the Lord. And so each of these are a way for us to walk in hope. So at this point, I'll probably just reiterate these 3, this love, this humility, and this hope, and tell them, hey, look, this is the life that Jesus is offering. This is the way that he's asking us to live. And so which of these 3, I'll probably ask the students directly, which of these 3 do you need to pursue this week? Right? Do you need to be more loving, more self-sacrificial? Do you need to be more humble? Or do you need to have more hope, more faith in the future? And so I would even ask them to get alone with the Lord at some point this week, spend some time with him, and figure out which of these 3 I need to model. I need to spend some time developing in my own heart so that I can follow Jesus more faithfully. All right, I hope this is a great lesson for you guys, and you have a good time hanging out with your students and discussing these things. Love you guys, and have a great week.